Some men leave a mark so deep that even time can't erase it. It's not because they were perfect or romantic or endlessly giving, it's because they operated from a place of presence and certainty that most people never encounter. They didn't try to be unforgettable. They simply moved through life in a way that made forgetting them impossible. You have to understand this. Most men are in a constant loop of trying to be liked. They change their opinions to match hers. They smile when they want to speak up. They say yes when they want to say no, all because they fear losing her. But the man she remembers, he didn't play that game. He wasn't chasing approval. He didn't walk into a room trying to be accepted. He walked in already knowing he belonged. That changes everything. She felt his presence before he spoke. There was no chaos around him, no neediness. He didn't try to control her or convince her to stay. He simply controlled the energy around him. His stillness had weight. His silence spoke volumes. He wasn't shaken by her moods or desperate for her validation. That kind of centered energy is rare, and that's exactly why it stays with her. She couldn't rattle him, couldn't pull emotion out of him unless he chose to share it. And when a woman feels that kind of inner strength, she remembers it. Not because he tried hard, but because he didn't try at all. He stood still, and everything around him moved. That calm confidence, that grounded energy, made her feel something she didn't even know she craved. And once she felt it, every man who came after him seemed just a little bit smaller. That's how you become unforgettable, by needing nothing and owning everything within you. The man she remembers never tried to convince her of his worth. He simply lived it. Most guys fall into the trap of over-explaining, constantly talking, put themselves up, listing their successes, or trying to prove they're valuable enough to keep. It's insecurity in disguise. When a man feels he's not enough on his own, he fills the silence with noise stories, boasts, endless explanations of what he brings to the table. But the man who lingers in her memory never did that. He let his actions speak. He didn't need to tell her who he was because it was obvious in the way he carried himself, the standards he upheld, and the energy he walked with. There was something different about him. He wasn't seeking praise. He wasn't fishing for compliments or chasing validation. He was centered, rooted in a reality where he already knew who he was. He didn't need her to believe in his vision because he already believed in it himself. That kind of quiet confidence makes a woman pause. It makes her question herself, question why she's reacting the way she is, why she's thinking about him long after he's gone. He didn't brag, he didn't overshare, and he didn't try to be impressive. But somehow, everything he did left an impression. That's the paradox. The less he tried, the more powerful he became. And it's not because he was holding back, it's because he had nothing to prove. His boundaries were clear, his decisions were intentional, and his life reflected discipline and self-respect. That's the kind of man she doesn't forget. Not the one shouting for attention, but the one who doesn't need it. When a man embodies his value rather than explaining it, he becomes rare, and rarity, in today's world, is unforgettable. He didn't just move with passion, he moved with purpose. There's a difference. Passion is fleeting, emotional, often scattered. It burns hot and fast, but without direction, it fades. Purpose, on the other hand, is calm, disciplined, and relentless. It doesn't shout, it doesn't waver, it simply moves forward. That's what she saw in him. He wasn't chasing random highs or wasting time trying to impress people. Every step he took had weight. Every decision reflected something bigger than the moment. He was building something, even when no one was watching. She noticed how he didn't let emotions dictate his direction. He didn't rearrange his goals just to keep someone around. And that struck her differently. Because most men, when they meet a woman they like, shift their entire world to fit her in, but not him. He didn't resist connection. He welcomed it, but only if it aligned with where he was headed. He didn't just want company. He wanted someone who could walk beside him without slowing him down. That made her feel something unexpected. For once, she wasn't being chased. She was being challenged. She realized that to stay in his world, she had to bring something more than beauty, more than charm. She had to be grounded. She had to rise. Because he wasn't giving up his path for anyone. And that's the kind of man that leaves a mark. The one who doesn't make a woman his whole life but invites her into a life that's already full. He didn't need her to complete him. He was already complete. And when a woman meets a man like that, one who walks with quiet direction, she doesn't forget. Not because he tried to stay in her mind, but because his purpose made her question her own. Every woman tests, not to break you, but to see what you're made of. It's not always conscious, but it's instinctual. She's checking for strength, not physical, but emotional. Most guys fail these tests without even realizing it. They get defensive, emotional, start explaining themselves, or apologizing for things they didn't do. They fold under pressure, thinking that pleasing her or keeping the peace will earn respect, but it never does. She doesn't want a man who bends every time she applies pressure. She wants to know that if life gets messy, he'll be the one who stays grounded. The man she remembers didn't take the bait. When the mood shifted, when she went quiet, when she threw shade just to see what he'd do, he didn't flinch. He didn't react. He watched, he listened, and he stayed centered. Not because he didn't care, but because he understood something most men don't. She's not testing to destroy. She's testing to feel secure. And if she can shake you, she can't trust you if you're thrown off by her emotions. How are you going to handle real life? He didn't try to fix her mood or explain away her silence. He let her feel it, and by doing that, he showed her that he wasn't a boy needing approval, he was a man with emotional discipline. That's what made her respect him, because when a woman knows she can't control you with drama, she starts to feel something deeper. It's not about dominance, it's about steadiness. The kind of steadiness that gives her permission to relax, to trust, to stop performing. And in a world full of men chasing validation, the man who stays still under pressure becomes unforgettable because he fought for her attention, but because he never let her shake his core. The man she can't forget is the one who left without needing her to look back. He didn't slam the door. He didn't send angry paragraphs trying to explain his worth. He didn't post cryptic stories hoping she'd see them and regret everything. No, he left with silence. With dignity, with a calm that couldn't be faked. And that's what tore into her memory, because every other man before him made noise. They begged, they argued, they tried to make her feel something, but him, he just walked like a man who knew he was already whole. That kind of exit is rare. Most men crave closure. They want to hear "I'm sorry." They want to know she misses them. But the unforgettable man doesn't need any of that. He's not trying to hurt her. He's not punishing her. He's simply choosing himself. When respect is gone, he doesn't try to fix it. When effort dies, he doesn't chase it. He doesn't leave to prove a point. He leaves because he knows his value. And he won't stay where it's forgotten. And that's what haunts her. Not the absence, but the strength in the absence. She expected him to circle back, to check in, to give her that moment of power again, but when it never came, it flipped everything. Suddenly, she's the one left with the questions. With the silence, with the realization that he meant what he said without saying a word. That kind of man leaves a mark, not because he shouted, but because he didn't need to. She remembers him not because he fought to be remembered, but because he disappeared, like a storm that never begged the sky to rain. He left when it was time and never looked back. And that's silence. It's what echoes the loudest.